can't make it to the post office myself, if I give that mail to a friend in hopes that they send it, I'm trusting them, because they could very well not send my mail. I have made something important to me vulnerable to the actions of another. Or if I tell a classmate a secret in hopes that he keeps it to himself, I'm trusting him. I have made something important to me vulnerable to the actions of another. So if we apply it to this parable, the slaves exemplified trust because they chose to bring what was important to them, which was the field and the conditions under which the wheat would thrive, vulnerable to the actions, or lack thereof, of the master of the house or the householder, who then told them to wait, but that's neither here nor there. If you want a sermon about the weeds and the wheat growing together, there are plenty. But I want to talk to you about working in the field after you've heard no. Most sermons about parables talk about what the kingdom of God is like, but I want to talk a little bit about what's required for good and faithful stewardship in the ushering in of God's kingdom. What's required is noticing the weeds, naming the weeds, offering assistance, and working while you wait on God in harvesting. Let's take a deeper look at the parable. After the crops bear grain, the slaves are able to see that something isn't quite right. I know I said this wasn't about the wheat and the weeds, but it is important to note that until the harvest, wheat and the specific weed in this story, Lolium tumulentum, or a tare, look very similar. They look so similar, in fact, that tares are called false wheat, which suggests that the slaves are paying very close attention to what's going on. They're proximal to the issue. If you have a phone, I do encourage you to Google wheat and tares, and the pictures, they'll come up. And to the untrained eye, they do look exactly the same. The eyes of these enslaved folks who were treated like property were anything but untrained. If they are able to name that there are weeds among the good seed that was sown, they were very attentive. They noticed what was happening in the field. Next, they are bold enough and they care enough about the field to go to their master and name that there are weeds. They go to their master and they say, in what I'm choosing to read in an accusatory way, "Did you not plant good seed? Why then are there weeds?" This question is important to me because they could have chosen to say, "Master, there are weeds in the field." But they used their authority, what little I imagine they had in that time, to challenge the work of their master, to challenge the growth in the field. Or maybe they had to muster up the courage to do so. Either way, they expressed a genuine concern for the well-being of the field and the quality of the master's work. They named to the master that something wasn't quite right, and they were holding said master accountable in some ways simply by raising the question they did. They named the issue of the weeds. Lastly, they offered assistance and continued working. They sought instruction on what to do next. Should we go and gather them? They're basically told to do nothing but tending to the field after their no has to be hard work. I'm no botanist. I know Alan is, and maybe we can talk after the sermon about what this looks like. But I imagine if you aren't weeding your field, there's some extra work that may be created for you, especially to ensure your wheat is getting the nutrients